Today I'd like to kick off a new video series here on my channel for an emergency kit that's intended to be used for non-preppers. A lot of the kits that I've built thus far for my channel are more for advanced preppers, people that are thinking about doing different organization strategies for their kits, and not for the person that doesn't even consider themselves a prepper. For example, my mother is not a prepper. She has no preps or anything like that, or nothing that she would consider to be preps. So this emergency kit is intended for that audience, and I'm hoping that you, the YouTube audience of mostly preppers here on my channel, will be able to help contribute to this particular project. So all we'll need to get started is a 5-gallon bucket. Let's get started. Standard emergency bucket kits typically contain stereotypical survival gear that is inexpensive for maximum profit. Contains things such as emergency food ration bars, water pouches, but most of the gear is not exactly highly rated or built to last. It's also designed more for outdoor survival than for indoor shelter in place. Now, I like the bucket concept, but not in the typical survival bucket methodology. This isn't something to be lugged around during a bug out, in my opinion. That's what a bug out bag is for. But there are some definite perks with having a bucket. For example, you could use them to store water, you could store food, you could store your gear in there to waterproof them, and even use them as an emergency toilet. I think that survival buckets should be designed more for non-preppers to have in their home for realistic emergencies like a power outage. So they'll still have the access to the pantry items that they may already have, maybe even some water, but they might not have a way of boiling the water without power. They might not have a NOAA weather radio, for example, or various illumination methods. Also, I believe most people won't be able to transition to an emergency food ration bar diet immediately. For example, non-preppers that haven't done any kind of training on transitioning to that kind of diet. If you've watched my channel, you've seen some of those 72-hour emergency food ration bar challenges, and believe me, they are tough to transition to that kind of diet. I think there are better methods for storing both food and water, which we'll talk about in this video. For this project, we'll need a few different supplies. As you probably guessed, we'll need some 5-gallon buckets. I prefer the 90 ml all-purpose pails that are food grade. Hopefully they contain no BPA plastic. You could get the cheap ones from Home Depot. You could also get some from restaurants or maybe grocery stores, maybe even for free, although be warned, it's going to probably smell like whatever item was stored in there. For example, I have around 20 5-gallon buckets that have Mylar bags and store non-perishable food in them, but they all smell like strawberry syrup, because that's what was previously stored in them. You could also buy them brand new on Amazon. Next, we're going to pick up a few Gamma Seal lids. Now these things are awesome. They come in various colors. I chose white for this particular project. Basically, it comes in two pieces. The first piece is going to attach to the lip of the 5-gallon bucket, and then the second piece is going to screw onto that lip end, and it's going to create an airtight seal. Now if it's airtight, it's watertight. And I choose to use these for almost all of my 5-gallon buckets just because how well they work. Since this bucket kit is designed for emergency purposes, I wanted to make sure that the bucket itself had that emergency look to it for high visibility, for quick access in an emergency situation. So I used some black and yellow hazard warning / safety stripe tape and wrapped it around the bucket a few times just to give it that emergency look. I usually prefer going with the 3M brand for this particular tape. Also made by 3M, I wanted to make it visible even at nighttime. So I wrapped around some white micro prismatic sheeting reflective tape, just one ribbon around there. And when you shine that tape with the flashlight, it becomes very bright. And both of these tapes were just designed to make this bucket highly visible in an emergency situation for quick access. I also included some ride-safe reflective decals to put on the Gamma Seal lid itself. This is the Hexagon Kit. They're designed for bicycle helmets to illuminate a helmet at night. I'm using it on the Gamma Seal lids just in case I were to have the bucket stored lengthwise on a shelf, for example. I'd want that Gamma Seal lid to light up as well. The last mod that I do on my 5-gallon buckets is probably my favorite. This is the Snappy Grip ergonomic replacement bucket handles. Those stock plastic bucket handles that come with any kind of 5-gallon bucket that you buy are not the most comfortable things in the world if you're carrying a heavy load in that 5-gallon bucket. For example, if you're carrying water in it, it just kind of eats into your hand. These ergonomic replacement bucket handles are so much nicer. So with all of my 5-gallon buckets, even if they're not for emergency purposes, I've been replacing the stock plastic handle with these Snappy Grip ergonomic replacement bucket handles. They cost a little less than $2. You can get them in a pack of 12, and I highly recommend them. As I mentioned earlier, there are much better methods for storing both food and water than what's typically included in the standard survival 5-gallon bucket. Water pouches and emergency food ration bars are overrated for these type of kits in my opinion, so here's some alternative solutions. Instead of going with those individual portion water pouches, I would recommend purchasing a single 5-gallon water jug and store it somewhere in your home to use as a backup. You could store it in your closet, in your pantry, in the basement, in the garage. Just put it somewhere. Again, water is cheap. So for shelter-in-place purposes, I'd go with quantity over ease of transporting. The water pouches are better served for lifeboats, maybe survival caches, maybe even a bug-out bag. But in your home, you don't have to worry about ease of transporting. Just go for quantity. I believe that all families should have at least a 5-gallon water jug dispenser and also have 3 backup 5-gallon water jugs stored nearby. There's a lot of different shelves available that you could stack 3 on top of each other. I think most serious preppers will want to aim for 100 gallons of water in addition to multiple filtration methods. But again, this video is intended for people just starting off with their preparedness measures. And I think a good starting place would be to go with that 5-gallon water jug dispenser and then having 3 additional 5-gallon water jugs. That's 20 gallons, and that's a pretty good start for a family. For food, I would recommend just getting a separate food-grade bucket and a green Gamma Seal lid. Now, I choose green based off of the color of prepping video that I did. Green represents food. Then just buy a 40-pound bag of white rice. You could buy it at Costco, a restaurant supply store, or maybe even an LDS food storage warehouse. Dump it into the bucket and seal it with the Gamma lid. Then just store that in a cool, dark location in your home or pantry. This is such a better method than having a few emergency food ration bars. I think most preppers would agree that rice is probably the best long-term food storage item to include. Canadian Prepper recently came out with an awesome video on this subject that I'll link to. Rice is cheap, easy to prepare, it's used in a lot of different dishes, has a super long shelf life, it's filling, and more. In a later video, we will transfer this rice to an oxygen-removed Mylar bag. But for now, let's just have the rice stored using this method. There are already a ton of great videos out there for storing dry food in Mylar bags. I haven't felt the need to recreate these methods, although I think I may, just to add my own twist to this strategy. Moving forward with this urban emergency 5-gallon bucket kit, we now have a dedicated 5-gallon bucket just for food, we have a 5-gallon water jug for backup water, and we have an empty bucket for supplies. So what I'd like to do is work with you, the YouTube audience, to design a kit made up of quality yet affordable supplies with the intent of them being used for shelter-in-place emergencies, such as a power outage. This kit should be something that you could give to a family member or a friend for emergency purposes to complement the items that they most likely already have in their home. For example, most people will probably have some canned food. They'll have pots and pans, utensils, clothes, items for warmth, but they might not have certain emergency items like a emergency radio, illumination methods, backup power, alternative cooking methods, and more. So let's open up the comment section with your ideas on what should be included in this basic, realistic kit for the average Joe. So over the next few months, I'll be posting some short videos on basic items that people can include in this bucket kit. Again, I'm intending this and the corresponding videos to be more for non-preppers or people just starting off with their preparedness measures. However, I still prefer to recommend products that are rated high, for example 4 to 5 stars on Amazon, but that are still budget friendly. This will also help me keep a steady stream of videos coming on my channel, since most of my other YouTube video projects are taking me longer and longer to produce. I should be able to crank out these 2 to 3 minute videos fairly frequently to intersperse with my other more detailed preparedness videos. I'll continue to upload detailed videos from my other projects like my bug out bag modules, EDC related videos, vehicle preps modules, home prepping system, and more. I'll be sure to link back to this original introductory video in any of those follow-up videos. I may say something in those videos like put it in the bucket or something like that during these videos to identify that the gear is intended to be stored in this urban emergency 5-gallon bucket kit. Once we get this to a version 1 state, I will make a video that shows the entire kit with all of its content with the PDF that has been recommended by you, the YouTube audience. I believe that this version 1 bucket kit that we create here as a community will be far superior to any mass-produced kit that you could buy online or at local stores. It will be something that you would be able to give to a family member, for example, maybe for their birthday or a holiday, who isn't normally interested in preparedness, so they could at least have a kit of basic, quality emergency supplies to complement their already existing home supplies. That's going to do it for this introductory video featuring the Urban Emergency 5-gallon bucket kit. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. So over the next several weeks, you'll be seeing more videos for this particular project with basic preps that the average person could store in an emergency kit like this and use it, for example, for a power outage. So this is a project that I'm hoping will have a lot of contributions from you, the YouTube audience, people that are already considered preppers and have done a fair amount of shopping and know what items are quality and which ones are kind of crap. And I like to put quality items in here that are still budget friendly. So in the comment section below, let's get that comment section going with ideas for what you would store in a 5-gallon emergency bucket, with the intended use of it being something that you could give to a family member, give to a friend, things like that. So leave your comments below in the comment section and stay tuned for more videos featuring the Urban Emergency 5-gallon bucket kit. See you guys next time.